In October 1974, a man named Carl Higdon went through a strange chain of events while elk hunting in southern Wyoming. He was taken aboard a clear, unusual craft and later dropped back on the ground in a confused state.
What happened?
Don't know.
You don't know.
I don't know. It seems strange. You know.
You sure you're all right?
Yeah.
You're not hurting anywhere?
No.
Okay.
Get you out of here and get you to the doctor as soon as we can.
His story matters not only because of how unusual it sounds, but because it appears he was almost taken away for good. That makes his case relevant not just to UFO encounter reports, but also to certain missing persons cases that may share similar causes.
I went to pick up my crew to go to work, and one of them was sick, so we couldn't work. So I came back to the house and decided I'd go hunting. So I decided to go on down into the forest, and I hunted down there until, it must have been around 4 o'clock. So I walked down over this hill. Whenever I got over the hill, I seen these 5 elk standing down there. One of them was a big bull, so I raised my gun to shoot.
At the time, Carl Higdon was 40 years old and worked as an oil driller for AM Well Service in Riverton, Wyoming. On Friday, October 25th, he unexpectedly had the day off and decided to go elk hunting. He loaded his new 7mm Magnum rifle and drove south toward McCarty Canyon, about 40 miles or 64 kilometers from his home in Rawlins. Along the way, he stopped to help 2 other hunters whose truck would not start. While sharing coffee, they told him he would have better luck deeper in the woods. Carl took their advice and drove to the northern edge of Medicine Bow National Forest. He parked on a hill and briefly spoke with a game warden who was also there. Carl began hunting at around 4 p.m. He had walked less than a mile into the forest when he reached a clearing. He spotted 5 elk a few hundred feet away, all standing completely still. He aimed at the largest male and pulled the trigger. Nothing sounded normal. The rifle made no noise, and the bullet moved through the air slowly. It stopped about 50 feet in front of him, as if it had hit something unseen, then dropped into the snow. The elk did not react, and Carl noticed that the entire forest felt unnaturally quiet. After picking up the bullet, Carl noticed a large clear box sitting on the ground. It was about 5 feet tall, 5 feet wide, and 7 feet long. It appeared to be made of glass and was empty. Feeling that something was nearby, he turned around and saw a strange humanoid floating upright in front of him. It wore a black suit, similar to a scuba outfit. Carl estimated the being to be about 6 feet 2 inches tall and around 180 pounds. Its skin looked similar to that of an East Asian person. Its face looked human, but had no chin and a sharply receded jaw. It had no eyebrows, no ears, and small slanted eyes. Its rough, straw-colored hair stuck straight out from its head like broom bristles, arranged in small clusters spaced about half an inch apart. 2 rod-like objects extended from the top of its head and appeared to function like antennas. The being wore black shoes and a wide belt with a 6-pointed star where the buckle would be. Beneath that was a yellow symbol on a small apron-like garment. Its legs curved outward noticeably. It had no hands, but from its right sleeve extended a cone-shaped device. Higdon referred to the being as a man, suggesting he believed it had male traits. The being moved toward Carl by floating above the snow. When it came close, it asked, "Are you hungry?" Even though its mouth did not move. Carl answered yes. A small packet containing 4 pills then floated toward him, and the being told him to take one. Even though Carl normally avoided taking pills, he swallowed one immediately, and later said it felt as though he was being controlled. The being then asked if Carl wanted to go with it. Carl answered, "I might as well." He later explained that this choice felt like his own. He had read about UFO encounters before, and had already decided that if he ever met beings like this, he would go along with them. The being pointed the cone-shaped device at Carl, and in an instant his surroundings changed. Carl next found himself inside the clear rectangular box, which appeared to be inside a larger transparent structure, still located in the forest. He was seated in a bucket-style chair, with his arms and head restrained. In the reflection on the surface above him, he could see the 5 elk standing motionless inside a cage. The being from the forest was present, along with 2 other similar beings. Carl said, "You've got my elk," and one of the beings responded with a shrug. The box then lifted off the ground. Carl looked down and saw his truck where he had parked it, but when the main being waved its hand, the truck vanished. Carl's next memory was seeing what he described as a blue ball and a huge marble far below him, which he believed was Earth. The beings told him they were going home, a place they said was 163,000 light-miles away. They placed a helmet on his head with 6 wires sticking out in different directions and secured it under his chin. After that, everything went dark. A moment later, an extremely bright light turned on, causing his eyes to burn and tear up. Carl then found himself standing near one of the transparent walls of the outer structure, looking out into a massive empty space with no visible walls or ceiling. The light came from the top of a tall tower that reminded him of the Space Needle in Seattle, with lights spinning around its top. Below the tower, he could see several humans, including adults and children, standing around and talking calmly. 2 beings, including the one he first met in the forest, guided him down a long walkway toward the tower. This time, Carl noticed that he was floating, just as the beings did. He was brought to a door that lifted upward before he was taken into a large room. Inside, a panel or barrier measuring about 4 by 8 feet dropped down in front of him and then lifted back into the ceiling. One of the beings then approached him and said, "You're not what we want. We'll take you back." Carl was floated out of the room and back into the bright light. His eyes burned again, and the beings explained that the sun affected them the same way when they were on Earth. Higdon was then taken inside what he described as a craft, where he came face to face with the entity from the forest, which identified itself as Ouzo-1. Ouzo explained that it was also a hunter, and that its species had been visiting Earth for many years in search of fish and animals to turn into food pills. Each pill could sustain one of its kind for 4 days. It went on to say that their planet's ocean had turned yellow, and all the fish had died. The entity then showed Higdon a map of its world, which matched the symbol on Ouzo's apron, and explained that the 9 planets in its solar system supply the magnetic force behind their power. Ouzo examined Higdon's rifle and commented that it would have liked to keep the primitive weapon, but was not permitted. It also told Carl that members of its species wear black to protect themselves from our sun. After passing through a dark void, Carl could see that the craft had returned above the forest. Ouzo then told Higdon it will see him. To his surprise, Carl soon found himself floating back down toward the ground. Before landing, his foot slipped on a rock, causing him to tumble, roll down the hill, and injure his shoulder. Carl followed a nearby road and eventually came across his pickup truck, though he didn't immediately recognize it as his own. He climbed inside and heard voices on the CB radio. After figuring out how to use it, he connected with someone who turned out to be his boss, Roy Fleming. Fleming asked for his name and location, but in his disoriented state, Carl could not answer either question. "I don't know. I am so cold," he said. He only described that he was in a pickup with a funny stick in the middle, despite having learned to drive a stick shift as a youth. It was around 6:30 p.m. when Fleming first made contact with Higdon. Carl's wife, Marjorie, had returned from work around 4 p.m., feeling a growing, uneasy feeling and a need to reach her husband. She was soon alerted to Carl's distress call over the CB. Carbon County Sheriff Charles Ogburn organized a search party, including Deputy Ed Tierney and 4 local hunters. Marjorie called her friend Marilyn James, whose husband, Don, took them out in his truck to help with the search. Muddy roads made it difficult for the sheriff's team to reach the area where Carl's truck was believed to be. Marjorie and her group were instructed to stay on the hill and wait. After a long wait, Marilyn noticed the truck moving and excitedly pointed out a large star that was shifting colors. Everyone watched for roughly 20 minutes as the light traced a wide arc, flashing red, green, and white. Carl was located around 11:40 p.m. His truck was about 3 miles from where he had originally parked it, stuck in mud, with no tire tracks leading to the location. While waiting for the searchers to return to the forest gate, Marjorie and her companions saw a bright red-orange light rising in the eastern sky. They assumed it was the sunrise, only realizing later how unusual it had been when they saw the real sunrise. When Carl was brought back, Marjorie immediately noticed that he was still confused and experiencing amnesia. He struggled to speak and did not recognize her. When she tried to talk to him, he looked as though he was looking through her, in her words. Asked if he had shot an elk, Carl gazed out the windshield and said in a sing-song tone, "They took my elk. They took my elk." He was visibly cold, and when Marjorie attempted to cover him with her coat, he pulled away, crying, "Don't touch me." On the drive to Carbon County Memorial Hospital in Rawlins, Carl asked Fleming why he wasn't wearing black, saying, "Doesn't the sun burn you?" He arrived at the emergency room at 2 a.m., eyes watering profusely, apparently sensitive to the hospital lights, with a painful shoulder, and repeatedly asked for his floating pills. No bruises, bleeding, or broken bones were found, and drug tests were negative. Dr. R.C. Tonko determined that Carl was suffering from amnesic shock. When Marjorie asked for his name, he replied, "They keep calling me Carl." "Who is Carl?" While at the hospital, Carl was able to recall parts of the experience, but had trouble remembering everything. Marjorie gave him paper and pencil, and he drew a picture of the entity and wrote the word Enders. The deputy sheriff later confirmed that another man named Enders had been in a different part of the forest that night. Carl also sketched a forked road, a rough version of the transparent craft, 2 unknown addresses, and made a note about a truck. He was released from the hospital on the morning of Monday, October 28th. X-rays taken by Dr. Tonko showed no concerns, even though previous X-rays had revealed scar tissue in Carl's lungs from past tuberculosis, and he had a history of kidney stones, none of which were present after the incident. Still, in the days following his rescue, he experienced headaches and back pain. When Carl spoke with Sue Taylor, a key reporter for the Daily Times of Rawlins, he was still deeply puzzled by what had happened, admitting that he must be crazy. Taylor's article, the first coverage of the case, ran on Tuesday, October 29th. Fleming connected Carl with a local rehabilitation counselor who suggested that he speak with Dr. Leo Sprinkle, a psychologist at the University of Wyoming with an interest in UFO experiences. On November 2nd, Dr. Sprinkle visited Carl at his home for the first of several regressive hypnosis sessions. Higdon was able to piece together more details of the experience, and Sprinkle invited a local art teacher to create a drawing of Auzo 1. Dr. Sprinkle went on to interview Marilyn James, Sheriff Ogburn, Dr. Tonko, Carl's hospital nurse, some members of the search party, and several other locals. Everyone who knew Carl described him as honest and hard-working. Psychological and psychiatric testing at the University of Wyoming found no signs of mental illness. One evening, Carl suggested to Marjorie that they take a drive with their son. He drove a few miles south of town, taking a dirt road up a hill, seemingly aware of where he was going. Over 150 feet above them, the family saw a bright green light shaped like a large upside-down ice cream cone, and noticed a terrible odor of dirty socks and sulfur. Disturbed, Carl then said, "I am late. I was to be here a few minutes earlier." A few nights later, he woke Marjorie and said, "I know it is weird. I am in bed with you, yet I am out south of town. They are telling me, 'Look for a black box.'" He felt that they could contact him whenever they wanted. The experience caused him distress and triggered his shoulder pain. On multiple occasions during his drives to and from work, Carl was followed by lights in the sky that others reported seeing as well. Both he and Marjorie believed their phone was tapped. Carl claims he still communicates telepathically with Auzo on rare occasions. For instance, he once asked Auzo for rain in Rawlins. The next day, 3 inches fell, followed by another 2 inches the day after, until Carl told Auzo to stop, and the rain ended. Higdon suggested that before firing his rifle on the day of the incident, Carl had entered some kind of force field that slowed the bullet down. At one point, Carl, along with Don, Marilyn, and others, returned to the site to take photos and scan for metal, searching for the missing bullet lead but finding nothing. At the spot where the transparent box had been, they noticed nearby leaves were burned and some trees had unusual weathered markings. Investigators, led by Dr. Walter Walker, a metallurgy consultant for the Aerial Phenomena Research Organization, APRO, examined the bullet. Walker concluded that it had struck something hard enough to turn it inside out. A metallurgist at the University of Wyoming also examined it, though the bullet later disappeared from the university's safe. The TV crew for In Search of visited Rawlins, as did a Japanese film crew. The National Enquirer arranged for Carl to take a polygraph test, which he passed, the first of several. Decades earlier, Marjorie felt compelled to write Carl's story, eventually self-publishing it in 2017 under the title Alien Abduction of the Wyoming Hunter. In 2022, David Paulides created one of several documentaries on people who vanish under unusual circumstances. He interviewed Carl and Marjorie again and compared their case to other disappearances in the same region. Paulides highlighted that Higdon was dropped at the end of the incident, a detail consistent with hundreds of cases he had studied where bodies appeared to have been dropped from above. The lack of tracks leading to the muddy spot where Carl's pickup was found suggested it may have been dropped as well. Researchers like Linda Moulton Howe have documented similar cases with animal mutilations, where carcasses have broken legs, no tracks, nearby, and impacted soil, indicating they were also dropped. Carl believes some kind of medical examination occurred when the shield or wall appeared, and that he somehow failed the test. He initially thought the rejection was due to the light affecting his eyes, but later speculated it was related to his vasectomy. Carl also experienced healing from lung scarring and kidney stones, which is noteworthy. Preston Dennett has compiled over 300 cases of spontaneous healing connected to UFO or entity encounters. Dennett concludes that the beings involved are advanced extraterrestrials, neither purely benevolent nor malicious, performing healings for reasons beyond just testing and experimentation. A disappearance occurred in the same forest almost exactly 35 years later. Mark Anthony Strittmater, an experienced hunter with 15 years in the area, vanished on October 19, 2019. Like Higdon, he disappeared from a location he had never hunted before. Earlier, he had observed a black UFO following him. Strittmatter, like Higdon and many others, was of German heritage, but had not undergone a vasectomy. Ufologist Jacques Vallée has noted that many historical encounters with fairies, elves, and similar beings involved the experiencer being offered food. People who complied were sometimes rewarded with an endless food supply, while in Irish folklore, taking food from the fairy world meant becoming a fairy and never returning. Now let's turn our attention to another UFO sighting that is even more mysterious. This video has recently been described as one of the clearest UFO recordings ever captured. Filmed over Campinas, Brazil, on December 25, 2025, it shows a large geometric craft hovering in the sky. The object looks metallic, reflective, and unlike any conventional aircraft familiar to the public. It remained unusually stable, appearing to float effortlessly, showing none of the aerodynamic features expected of jets, helicopters, or drones. Many viewers said they had never seen anything like it, noting that the smooth, diamond-shaped structure resembles a type of advanced craft rarely caught on camera so clearly. What makes this sighting particularly striking is the level of detail visible in the footage. The object is neither distant nor blurry like most UFO videos. Instead, it appears crisp, well-lit, and undeniably solid. In certain frames, panels, seams, or structured sections can be observed along its surface. The front is pointed, while the underside shows what look like symmetrical vents or indentations. The body resembles a faceted pyramid, inverted as though balanced on its rear, moving without wings, propellers, or any visible propulsion system. Witnesses reported that it moved steadily across the sky before accelerating with ease, seemingly defying conventional physics. The sighting happened on Christmas Day, when most families were celebrating and the atmosphere over Campinas was calm. Residents first noticed a strange metallic reflection and began filming. The resulting footage quickly spread on social media, moving from local groups to international UFO communities. Observers described it as one of the clearest and most intriguing UFO videos ever recorded. Many emphasize that the clarity of the craft, combined with its unusual shape, places this footage among the most debated sightings in UFO history. The craft's design appears far too advanced to be dismissed as a balloon or hobby drone. Its movement is smooth and controlled, showing no tumbling or drifting like a lightweight object would in the wind. Instead, it glides with purpose, almost as if guided by intelligent control. No visible exhaust, rotor wash, or heat distortion is present, leading some to speculate that it uses propulsion technology not yet public, possibly electromagnetic or gravitational. This potential link to advanced aerospace engineering has sparked intense discussion among UFO researchers. Those favoring Android extraterrestrial origin point out that diamond-shaped craft have been reported worldwide for decades, often described as silent, dark, and capable of sudden bursts of speed. The Campinas footage is remarkable for its proximity and daytime clarity, providing visual evidence far less ambiguous than typical distant lights captured at night. Some suggest the object could be a classified experimental aircraft, as Brazil has strong aerospace partnerships and secret prototypes are known to exist. However, the design does not resemble any known plane, and the lack of wings presents a major engineering challenge for conventional propulsion. Even skeptics admit the object remains puzzling. Within days of its release, the video went viral, reaching millions of viewers. Pilots, engineers, veterans, and researchers analyzed it closely, often frame by frame, stabilizing the zoom to observe every contour. No cockpit, markings, or lights were visible. The underside was smooth and reflective, suggesting a material unfamiliar to most observers. As the craft rotated slightly while moving, it revealed a faceted, almost crystalline structure with an industrial appearance. Some theorize the craft could be reverse-engineered technology derived from previously recovered UFO materials developed in secret programs. The most striking detail noted by multiple viewers is the craft's confidence in movement. It shows no wobble, turbulence, or visible thrust, floating as smoothly as a boat on calm water. Christmas sightings often attract attention due to the symbolic date, and this event is now part of a growing pattern of unexplained aerial phenomena observed during the holiday season. Families enjoying the day unwittingly captured what may become a significant record for modern UFO research. As the video circulated, new angles and zoomed edits revealed additional details. The top of the craft appeared structured like a canopy or dome, while the lower section tapered sharply, resembling stealth aircraft geometry but without aerodynamic wings. Shadows on the surface suggest internal complexity, and faint patches indicate either removable panels or intentional irregularities in the plating. Supporters of the extraterrestrial theory argue that the craft seemed to be observing rather than performing for cameras. Its slow, steady path suggests data collection, possibly monitoring environmental or electromagnetic activity. Campinas is a technologically active region, which some believe could be relevant. Skeptics have suggested CGI or editing tricks, but others point out that the motion, lighting, and interaction with the environment make manipulation difficult. Sunlight reflects naturally on the craft, and trees, clouds, and background elements behave consistently, with no obvious masking or compositing errors. For many, the simplest conclusion is that a real craft was captured without interference. In recent years, there has been a noticeable change in how officials discuss unidentified aerial phenomena. For decades, UFO sightings were routinely dismissed as balloons, misidentified aircraft, or atmospheric effects. Today, high-ranking officials, former military personnel, and intelligence experts speak more openly, acknowledging the existence of unknown objects and the possibility that some represent technology beyond current human capability. This growing transparency has fueled speculation worldwide. Discussions of UFOs are no longer limited to fringe circles. Pilots' reports are being taken seriously, and government agencies have declassified videos showing objects performing maneuvers beyond known aerodynamics. Officials now acknowledge that objects exist in the sky that cannot be explained by current military technology. Former defense personnel have described encounters with objects capable of instant acceleration, silent flight, and right-angle turns at speeds far exceeding known aircraft. Some have testified under oath, suggesting non-human intelligence may be involved. This shift has energized online communities, with analysts comparing footage, radar reports, and official statements for clues. Many believe the gradual increase in transparency may be preparing the public for a larger revelation about intelligent life beyond Earth. A sudden worldwide announcement could cause panic, while slow disclosure through leaked footage, hearings, and official acknowledgement allows people to adjust. Technological advances make secrecy harder than ever. High-definition cameras, satellites, and civilian drones constantly monitor the sky, capturing objects that may once have gone unnoticed. Some suggest governments themselves have obtained new information, recovered materials, or encountered technology that cannot be kept hidden. Whatever the reason, UFO discussion is now mainstream. Media outlets, scientific panels, and government inquiries openly address the phenomenon, and many see this as the start of something significant. The Campinas footage remains one of the most compelling modern UFO recordings. Whether the object belongs to human technology or something beyond our world, its presence over Brazil on December 25, 2025 is undeniable. The video has become part of a growing archive of unexplained aerial phenomena that challenge our understanding of technology, space, and humanity's place in the universe. If you found this footage as incredible as we did, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe for more videos like this. Comment below with your thoughts. Do you think this was advanced human technology or something from beyond Earth? Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss an update.